Hi yogis, it's Megan here. I've been teaching some strength and conditioning classes, some shorter classes with exercises to help build the strength and awareness to help with our yoga practice for a while now. And so I'm going to start posting some of these online. So this is our first attempt, and it's going to be working on some real basics. Don't worry, it'll still be challenging. For those of you that have done this stuff before, I'll also give kind of ways to level it up and make it more challenging, or for you to see where it can progress in the future. But I'll for sure go slow with these, be mindful of how you're moving. That's the point when you're learning something new. So let's do it. We're always going to start with abs for these classes because that's one of the most important things as far as something we're going to use throughout the rest of what we're doing, so it's going to make everything else more accessible. Or do you need to adjust this because somehow it got moved? So here we go. First, we're going to start with an ab exercise that's really about getting into our deepest abdominal muscles. So not a lot of movement, nothing huge and fancy, but effective. And we're going to start really basic with our feet about hip width distance on the floor. Toes are facing away from you, knees are facing, pressing away from you. And first just trying to tap into these lower abdominal muscles that a lot of people don't really have a good connection to. So I'm going to find these bones in the front of my hips, my as-is joints right here, and then I'm going to walk in about halfway towards the center with each set of fingers, and I'm going to keep a couple fingers here. And right now I can feel my natural arch of my spine. I'm a little bit away from the floor. So I'm going to kind of squeeze in, like I'm drawing my fingers closer towards each other, and I'm going to feel my low back reaching towards the floor. I'm not pushing with my low back. I'm using my abdominal muscles to lengthen my low back towards the floor. My tail feels like it's reaching towards my knees now. So I'm just going to do that a couple of times and release that, and then I'm going to squeeze in and lengthen down so my low spine feels like it's going almost all the way flat towards the floor. And releasing that, you should feel like you're arching and squeezing in. Some people feel this a lot more in the glutes, but we're not really doing this with our glutes. But you will feel some movement there because as your tail reaches towards your knees, you should feel some activation there in the glutes as well. Right. So drawing in, feeling the belly button reaching down, low spine getting longer. And that's the activation. Having your hands there can help you feel it. You can have your hands at your hips and help you feel it. You can take this up a little bit more, add a little kind of rocking. But every time that you pull the tail towards your knees, squeeze in more, like you're tightening up and squeezing in. Tightening up and squeezing in. That's the engagement that we want in most of these abdominal exercises. If you start to arch away, belly pooches out, get lots of space in your low back, that's using the wrong muscles. All right, so we're going to keep up with that. You can have your hands here if that helps you feel it. And I'm going to start by just lifting up one leg at a time. So the temptation here is to get all into the hip flexors. If they start to get crazy on you, take it down a notch, come back to what you were doing as soon as you start to feel it. Once they go wild, hard to turn that off. So using the same muscles, just using that to help you lift one leg up off the floor, lift the other leg up off the floor. So as I draw inwards and my low spine releases down to the floor, my leg just floats up. So it's a small movement. And again, I'm trying to every time squeeze in tighter these lower abdominal muscles. Use that to help lengthen my low spine and float my leg up. Going at your own pace, just really trying to feel it, getting longer through your low back, not actively pressing into the floor, but just feeling your spine get longer as you engage into the abdomen. Let's do 2 more sets, and then we'll take it up a notch. So the first way to take it up a notch, I'm coming back to that scoop, pulling my low belly in, tightening everything up, making sure my low back feels like it's long towards the floor.
I'm going to lift both legs up, and I'm going to do kind of the opposite now, tapping down. So as soon as I start to feel myself arching away from the floor, I've gone a little too far. So use your abdominal muscles, pressing down. You can touch the floor or not touch the floor. When you start to feel an arch, that's a little bit too far. So as long as you can keep everything pulled, like scooping up and in and down in the front of your abdomen, low spine, reaching long tail, lengthening out towards your knees, your feet. And again, you might not need to tap. This might be like 2 inches on each side, and you find that place where you're maxed out, where you start to arch your back, and that's as far as you go. Also, if you do a lot of this movement, you're doing it without using your abdominal muscles, so make sure your upper and lower leg move together as one. And it should be challenging, but again, if you get into that sensation of your hip flexors trying to do everything, getting really taxed, that's not helpful. So come out, stop, make it smaller again. So these are really good basic movements. You can stay with that or take a couple times throughout the day to start to get that if that was really challenging. And then we'll move it up a little bit more. So I'm going to take one leg up towards the ceiling and one leg down towards the floor. I'm still going to try to lengthen out my low back. All right, I'm going to hover the one leg up off the floor a little bit, and the lower is harder, right? So you can be one leg up and one leg slightly lower. This is absolutely fine. Find that place where it's challenging for you. So if you can go low and keep your low spine towards the floor, keep the belly scooped up and in, you can go low. But maybe it's just a couple of inches. Leg being longer will add a little bit more challenge, a little bit more weight to the movement. So a couple more here. Do one right, one left. And then I'm going to add some upper abs. So I'm going to bring my hands behind my back. I'm going to use my hands to support the weight of my head. So my head can be relaxed and heavy. Very normal for the neck to get a little stressed out on these. So give yourself lots of support. Let your arms lift up your head. Right? So for these, I'm first going to pull my rib cage down. So as I pull my rib cage down, I should feel again that sense of my tail lengthening away from me, my low spine getting longer, my whole spine getting longer. Elbows, you don't have to reach out super wide, but you don't want them curled in either. For these, we'll have them just in the very periphery of our eyes. Chin stays away from chest, little curl up. So it shouldn't be like big drastic, like pressing so hard. Just trying to find that sense of just curling, keeping your spine against the floor and just wrapping around the top of your ribs as you come up. Space from your chin to your chest, space in your armpits. Just getting a little bit more into the upper abs, getting them a little bit more warmed up. If you want to make this harder, you can add the legs as you come up, but you could also keep both legs up or both feet to the floor, hip width apart. I just want to give us a chance to do some obliques. So once you're even here, once I'm even, I'm going to try to hold my legs up. I'm going to try to keep that curl, everything still hold in nice and tight. Hands behind the head, little oblique, elbow towards the right, elbow towards the left. This is very, very, very small. If you want to make this harder, again, you could keep one leg down, do one side at a time. But keep the shoulder blades up off the floor. And then the next time we're even here, we'll hold. So holding towards the right, this could be it. Or you could add more. Pulling the belly in, lengthening the tail out past you. And switching to the other side. Either drawing the elbow towards this side, pulling the belly in, lengthening the low spine, or making it harder by adding the arms out or adding the leg out or both. Breathing, scooping the belly, tail long. Shoulders relaxed. And that's enough abs for today.
All right, next we're going to go into all fours position. So working on some basics for when we're in this quadruped position. Shoulders stack up over the wrists, hips should be lined up right over your knees. As we go through these, first we're going to do some wrist stretches just to make sure if we're not used to having weight in the hands, that can be a little bit of a challenge initially. So first just bringing the fingertips out to the side and rocking a little bit right and left. Just letting some of the weight move past the wrist in each direction, getting more comfortable with that. So if the hands bubble up off the floor, the fingers pull up away from the floor, that's just going to tell you need to keep working on these so that you can have your hands be confident enough to take some of that weight, some of that pressure, and not try to avoid it. And then we'll come back to center. We'll bring the left hand forward, take the right hand fingertips back. You can sit back slightly. You might not need to sit back very much to feel this stretch. And bring it forward and take little circles. So just moving the weight around the wrist, getting more comfortable with those sensations. We'll try the other side. Bring your right fingertips forward, send your left fingertips back, and first just lean back slightly and try to feel what that stretch feels like. And then taking some circles here, just moving the weight around the wrist, getting comfortable with that. We'll come back to the center, so both hands are facing forward. Again, shoulders are over the wrists, and we're just going to really take this down step by step. So first, sometimes they're called sternum drops. We're going to try to get movement just at the shoulder level. So we're not going to do any catting cowing, right? That's going to just stay straight line through your spine. But we're going to shrug our shoulders and then press the floor away. So when I shrug my shoulders, my shoulder blades are drawing in towards each other. When I press the floor away, they draw apart. Protract, retract. So generally when we have weight in our hands, we want to be in that protracted, pushing away from the floor, shoulders wide, almost the sensation of kind of wrapping around your shoulder blades. A couple more of these. If you're not used to doing these, again, you might be trying to do a cat-cow with your back, but you could find this isolation, just take some practice. And then we'll hold in our protracted position, and now we're going to try to find more movement in our thoracic spine, which again might be weird. We probably want to do this with our low spine. We're going to try to drop our ribs and lift our ribs up. Dropping my ribs, and lifting my ribs up. So it's kind of those same muscles that you would work in the upper ab curl that we did, kind of subtle. Much easier to get into it when you use your low back, which has more movement, but try to drop your ribs, lift your ribs. Drop your ribs, lift your ribs. So for you guys who do the pranayama, you know what it feels like when you engage the muscles around your rib cage. So that's what we're doing. Anytime also that we have weight in our hands, we're going to want to feel that engagement, that sensation of wrapping around and feeling strong around our rib cage, not just collapsing down through the rib cage, but staying tight and close and everything pulled up and in. All right, now let's take a little bit more movement. We're going to do some kickbacks. So this is going to be hamstring and glutes, and when we do it, we're going to try not to back bend. So isolating at the hip and the glute. So I'm going to flex my right foot, I'm going to bring my right knee up, and I'm going to kick back without arching my back. So it might be a small movement. I'm going to try to stay one line so my knee is not going closer to my right knee and further away. It's just staying parallel to my right leg as I go up and back, as I go back and forward. Your range of motion might be like more here or here before you have to use your back, before you start arching your back. So find wherever your range of motion is, you can isolate this and not use your back. A couple more.
Still keeping some weight in my right arm, so the temptation here is to lean out to the side. So try to keep pressing down through each fingertip, not letting the hands fall away from the floor. Try the same thing on the other side. So again, hips over knees. You can keep the other foot flexed or flat to the floor with your ankle, whatever feels better for you. But we're going to flex the right foot and lift the right knee up. And we're going to kick back and bring it in. All the time, trying to keep the spine long. So I'm not doing this with my back. Learning how to isolate it more with my right leg. And trying to stay parallel with the left leg on the floor. Stay active through your right foot. Should definitely feel this strengthening in the hamstrings for sure. And try not to lean into the one arm. Keep pressing through both hands, all the fingers. Keep those nice protracted shoulders so that ears aren't starting to creep up, shoulders aren't starting to creep up to the ears. Last couple. And then bring your right leg down. Now we're going to try to extend out to the side, often called the hydrant. So, right leg is going to lift up to the side and back in. Sorry, that's my left leg. Out and back in. Getting a little bit more into the glute med. Outer part of the glute. And then this next one, I'm going to add on. You can stay doing that if that was a lot for you, or you can bring your leg out long. This might be challenging. If you're doing this, you're going to take little circles with your heel. Try to draw a perfect, controlled circle with your heel. And switch directions. And bring it back. Other side. First, just doing the hydrant, lifting and lowering. And we still are pressing away from the floor, still keeping the ribs pulled up and in, keeping that lower abdominal engagement. And the second side, you should feel the other side you just did, so the second side's generally a little harder, so just keep a smile on your face. And we will add on, if you want to add on, if that was enough, you can stay there, keep doing that, otherwise leg goes out. Little perfect circles with your heel. Small, controlled circles, switch directions. And then bring it down. Hips should really feel that. Okay, so we're gonna give the hips a break, move on to the shoulders next, doing exercise I learned from the Ghost Yoga people called Dans. So these are great shoulder exercise because they're strength, but they're also mobility. And there's a lot of versions of these out there, but we're gonna start with our hands shoulder width apart, maybe a little wider, and you can have your fingers turned in a little bit. So everyone's a little bit different with how your hands are gonna want to go, but you're going to turn them in a little bit. So your elbows are going to be more out to the side than back like a chaturanga push-up. And then we'll definitely keep the knees on the floor. Start with the knees on the floor. We can add them up later if you want more challenge. Right? So with the feet and the shins and the knees on the floor, enough space. If you're too close, these are just going to be like awkward. So they might be awkward anyway, but you want a little bit of space so you feel lengthened out and you have some place to go to. And we're going to start by pressing slightly back, hips slightly back, but I'm still kind of rounding in my upper back. I'm going to bring my elbows into the side. I'm going to draw my chin towards my thumbs and then forward and then slide back. So my arms go straight. So I'm sliding my elbows out, chest goes forward, up, arms straighten. And just getting into a rhythm here. You are using your back a little bit, of course, right? There's a little of that, but try to get as much as you can from your shoulders. So this isn't just a big arch of your back. You're actually maneuvering through the shoulder joint. Do 2 more in this direction. And then we'll switch the other direction, which is maybe harder. So we're going to start by reaching forward, then bend the elbows and slide back to straight. Forward, bend, slide back to straight. Again, I'm doing most of this with my shoulder. I'm not getting a ton from my back. A couple more here, and then we'll try to put the 2 together. And this is where I'm going to show off, but if you want to stay on your knees, you certainly can. If you want to add a little bit more weight, you can add your shins up, which will add a little bit more weight. Or you can do with one leg long and one foot down. Otherwise, you can do these in a full push-up position, up to you. So we're going to go into the forward one and then into the back one. So I'm going to give myself enough space, nice and long through my spine. I'm going to press forward, bending my elbows, reaching forward, scooping up, straighten the arms, bend the elbows, scoop it back. Forward, back. Forward, back. Really feel the range motion in your shoulder. Last 2. Last 1. And I did those kind of quick because of the things you want to get done with quickly, but obviously, take them at a pace that makes sense for you. Next, we're going to go into standing. So I'm going to have to adjust this somewhat. Okay, standing hip cars. If you've never done these before, we did these in the Ben Sears workshop. The cars are controlled articular rotations. And I would definitely recommend, for anyone who's never done these before, have a wall next to you. Have a sturdy piece of furniture, sturdy. So if you need to use it, you don't topple it on top of yourself. Something just to give you a little help, right? I do these a lot, so I'm going to go without the help, but it really does help if you want help with the balance so you can find the movement. So we're going to go through the range of motion of our hips, standing on one leg. So we're going to lift our right leg up. We're going to rotate out to the side. Notice if your torso goes with you, try to keep your torso forward. And I'm going to slide my heel up. I'm going to bring my right knee to my left knee. And then I'm going to reverse the same movement. I'm going to slide it slightly back and out. I'm going to slide my foot back down towards the floor. Bring my right knee forward and set it down. So that's one hip car both directions. I'm going to do a few more. Lift your right leg. Rotate out to the side, keeping your hips square forward, chest forward. So it's only what your hip has the capacity to do. Slide your heel up, so now your shin's parallel to the floor. Slightly send it back as you draw your knee towards your knee. I'm flexing my foot this whole time. Kick it back, just like we did seated or in kneeling. Lift the knee up. Bring the shin parallel to the other leg. That leg forward and send it down. 3 more each side. Right leg up, out, send the heel up, extend back and in, knee to knee. Reach back and out through the side, roll the foot towards the floor, forward and back. 2 more. Right leg lifts, waistband even, just like we do in our Bikram practice, the balancing series. Right leg comes out, heel turns up, leg reaches back and in, knee to knee. Kick slightly back and out, roll the leg again forward, bring it to front of you and down, Really start to feel this in the glute med of the standing leg. One more, leg up, onto the side, roll the foot up, slide back, kick it back, out to the side, roll the foot down, back, forward, and down. And your range of motion might not look like that, right? Everyone's range of motion is different. Now we have to do 5 with our left leg. Left leg lifts up, left leg goes out to the side, heel comes up, kick back slightly as you draw your leg in towards your other leg. Back and out. Roll the shin parallel again, leg forward, and left leg down. So my range of motion on my left hip is less than my right hip, so it's probably going to be a little bit more extra movement, but always trying to keep it as much as we can from the hip. Make it smaller if you need to, less extra movement. Hands at your hips, or again, at something to help you hold on is helpful. Flex the foot, bring the leg up, out to the side, roll the foot up, send it back, knee to knee, kick it back and out, roll the sole of the foot down, bring it forward, and set it down. 3 more, leg comes up, out to the side, roll the heel up, send it back, and in to meet your other knee, back out, sole the foot to the floor, forward, and down. 2 more, leg up, out to the side, roll the sole of the foot up, knee to knee, send it back and out, forward, and down. I haven't done these in a while. Last one, leg comes up to the side, roll the knee forward, the heel up, send it back, knee to knee, kick back and out, roll the foot to the floor, send the leg forward, and left leg down. Not quite done with standing legs yet. Now we're going to bring our feet out about hip width distance. So we're going to practice kind of like we do awkward pose. So keep the back as flat as possible. That's going to be hard here, so really working on that. I think it's okay that you can't see my feet for this one. Hands can stay at your waist. Hands can reach forward like awkward pose. I'll probably end up doing the forward. We'll see how it goes. So we're going to move through being on our toes and being on our heels. And just like awkward pose, knees, ankles, hips all stay lined up. Back stays as straight as possible throughout. So I'm going to come up onto my toes first, and then I'm going to lower down into the chair position. I'm going to slide my heels down to the floor. That's the hardest part for me. Then I'm going to lift up onto the toes, sitting into the chair. Slide the heels down to the floor while you're in the chair, and come back up. 3 more toes, chair, heels down, all the way up. 2 more toes, chair, heels down. I'm going to try not to go too fast through this because it's the hardest part. We always want to speed up that spot. All the way up. Last one. Toes, chair, heels, slide down to the floor. I'm staying in my chair. And then all the way up. And then we'll do the opposite direction. So I'm going to sit down to the chair like first part awkward. Again, trying to stay lifted, not going into the back bend in this version. And then I'm going to rock forward on my toes. I'm going to press up to standing and come down. Sit back into the chair, nice long spine, rock forward onto my toes, come up to standing, down on my heels. 3 more, sit into the chair, that space lifted up from your hips to your armpits, up onto your toes, lifting through your low belly, all the way up tall, down on the heels. 2 more, sit back into the chair, rock up onto the toes, press up tall, lower down. Last one, back into the chair, up onto the toes, all the way tall, back down. All right, just a little bit bridging, and we'll call it a day. So I'm going to come back down to the mat. Again, I might have to adjust this. It's really hard to get it to stay where I want it and not topple over. So, bridging, and work the hamstrings a little bit more here as well. So starting with the feet about hip width distance. If you have a block, this is an excellent one to use a block. And We'll bring the hands to the floor first. I'm going to use those same muscles, scooping, pulling in from when we first started, lengthening my low back towards the floor, my tail towards my heels. And then I'm just going to start to peel up and peel my tail up towards my knees. Staying broad across the collarbones, keeping a little space between the chin and the chest. And try to roll the heads of my shoulders slightly down. Not still rolling underneath you, you kind of feel like, but just trying to get this space so I feel really long and stretched through the front of me and through the front of my hips. And it should feel engagement in the glutes and the hamstrings for sure. And then slowly, one vertebra at a time, try to lower yourself down with control. And we're going to add on a little bit here. Let's do a couple more regular bridges first. So pressing through my feet, noticing if the feet want to turn out or turn in. See if you can keep them directly forward, heels directly in line with your sit bones. Roll the low spine down and then lift everything up. Press your knees away from you. Reach wide across your chest, long through your rib cage. And then lower down one vertebra at a time. One more. Reach the tail towards your knees. Lift it up. And then we'll add on a little bit here. So use your hands against the floor as much as you need. Steady your weight towards your left leg. We're not going to move it in, so you're just going to have to find a little bit of comfort here in this slight asymmetry. Right leg presses forward. Really flex through your right foot. And keep working through your upper arms so you don't feel this in your neck. And you can stay here, or you can go up towards the ceiling. If you're staying here, stay here, lengthen, press away with your left leg. It should still work very challenging. If you want up towards the ceiling, you can add a little lower lift, lower lift. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Extend. Bring it down, and all the way up, all the way down. Do the same thing on the other side. Again, pressing through your arms, use that support, lengthen long to help you first start to lift up, like you're squeezing a block, so you should feel that squeeze as you engage the glutes. And you can stay here, pressing your left leg out. Again, you really will feel that asymmetry, so keep using your right foot, pressing. You should feel your right inner thigh activating as well. And stay here, trying to get really nice and long, or bring the left leg up. And then you have the option of adding the dips, pressing the floor away, very strong with your right leg, and still lengthening out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring it out, long, stretch, stretch, stretch. Bring it down, slowly lower yourself down. Just a little twist, supine twist. You can bring your arms out to a T. Lengthen your left leg out long. Right leg comes up. And bring it over to the side. If you like to hold on, you can hold on. Or just let it go. Keep the right shoulder blade to the floor. You can look over your right shoulder for a little bit more of a neck and full spine stretch. Twist. Lower inhale. Exhale here, let yourself twist a little bit deeper in your exhale. Come back to center. Extend your right leg long, bring your left leg up. If you like the hand to help guide it over towards the side. And look over your left shoulder, keep the shoulder blade towards the floor, let your left leg be heavy. Mine doesn't touch the floor usually, so it doesn't have to. One more inhale. And then as you exhale, twist a little deeper. And then come back to center. Drop both knees in. And relax both legs out. And it's not a yoga practice, so you don't need to take a Savasana. But Savasana always feels good. So if you want a Savasana, now's a great time for one. Thank you guys.